Oh my goodness. How are people feeling? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling great. All right, lit. See, I love that type of energy. I am so excited to be here today because Lego is literally my favorite thing. And if you're excited, give me a big old Lego. So on the count of three, 1, 2, 3, Lego. Okay, y'all are excited. I believe you. I'm not going to make you do it again. What's going on, y'all? My name is Brandon Hersey, and I have the pleasure of being with you today. That's Hersey, like the candy bar without the second H, because over the past year, I have found a way to mix two things that I love so much: Lego and video and content creation. And not only that, there are some really cool lessons that I've learned around the way that I want to share with y'all so that you can have a similar experience if that's something that you're interested in. But before we get started, we've got a little bit of an icebreaker. Now, I don't want you to take up the whole card that I gave you, but for those of you that I gave a card, and if you haven't gotten one yet, there's plenty up here in the front. Nobody's going to shame you for coming up in here late. No worries, no worries. But I want you to write down two things. I want you to tell me what was your first or favorite Lego set. And then how did it make you feel when you got that Lego set? What was your first or your favorite Lego set, and how did it make you feel? And I used to be a second grade teacher, and old habits die hard. So when you've got that answer, I want you to put one hand on your head so I know you're done. Take your time. I really want you to lock in on this. First or favorite Lego set? And when you've got your answer, hit one hand on your head. All right, I see one of our friends is done. Two of our friends is done. You got a question for me? Oh, if you need a pen, I think we have an extra pen in my backpack in that front pocket, Brian. The one in the gray. Yep, there should be a white one. Boom, there you go. All right, so let's see. We're going to go to this side of the room. My friend right here with the dope shirt. What was your first or favorite Lego set? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that with me. We had some other ones. What about our friend right over here? What was your first or favorite Lego set? Somebody has good taste from the beginning. Black Seas Barracuda for your first one? Man, oh my gosh. Let's do one more. Back here in the back. The Ewok Village. Oh my gosh. How did you feel when you got that set? It was awesome. I bet. And I forgot to ask you, how did you feel when you got that set? Oh, bro, I get it. I can't afford to have FOMO now. Oh my gosh. So I want you to remember that feeling, right? Lego is one of those awesome things that no matter what type of fan you are, everybody has that experience. Everybody has that deep emotional connection with some aspect of the hobby. And that deep emotional connection is what brings so many people here on a work day to talk about that hobby. It's also what drives so many people on YouTube and other content platforms right now to spend hours upon hours upon hours watching videos about that hobby. And we're going to talk about what is the secret sauce to help you get there if creating a Lego YouTube channel or any type of content platform for yourself surrounded by Lego is a goal of yours. But before we go on, you know I had to show you my favorite set. This was actually my first set. I got the Rolls Royce of Lego sets for my first set of my own. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday. The year was 1998. I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but young Brandon was about 7 years old at the time. And my dad had seen me playing with Legos at my school, and I had not had any of my own Legos. I had building blocks and stuff like that. Connects, if you remember Connects as a kid, which is like Legos, like kind of derpy younger cousin. But my thing was that I had really shown that I loved this kind of stuff. And so my dad was like, well, I'm going to encourage this. He was a man that loved to work with his hands. He was always, my family says, piddling. Have you ever heard that word before, piddling? It just means that you need to find something to do with your hands. Later on in life, I figure it's adult ADHD, but that's a conversation for another day. But this set in 1998 was the Rolls Royce of Lego sets. It had a big fig before big figs were cool. You see that rock monster right there. Light up elements. This was the whole base, right? And I played with this set until only God knows when. But the best part about it was that when I was done playing with it, I could break it apart and turn it into something else. Now, trust me, I had not been allowed to break toys before I had gotten this set. So this, for me, was a game changer. Lego is the fastest growing hobby niche on YouTube. Point blank, period. There is an intense opportunity for folks who are interested into getting into content creation for whatever reason that might be. Maybe it's to build a platform for yourself. Maybe it's to buy a little, or rather to get a little extra money so you can actually afford all this plastic. But Lego is one of the gold mine niches right now on YouTube because all of the folks who were getting those Rolls Royce sets, who had those memories from children, now have disposable incomes. As you have seen, Lego take advantage of us in that way. But why should you care about what I have to say? Why do I matter, right? These are some of the stats that we have gotten in the past year. I've been to BrickCon 3 times. My first time was in 2023. And my wife, who was sitting up here in the front, just on a random date, thought that it would be fun to come to this type of convention. I hadn't picked up a Lego set in easily 4 or 5 years. I think I got the Hulkbuster set at some point, right? Just to get my hands back on it. And I was amazed. Not only did you guys know that 15,000 people are gonna come through here this weekend on a regular basis? That is insane, right? And I saw that there was a massive community for something that I didn't know had gotten popular again. And when I was looking at some of the mocks downstairs, I was like, this stuff is pretty cool. And I think I can build stuff just as good as this. So I set a goal. My thing is mechs. I love making robots, characters, Bionicle, all that kind of stuff. And I set a goal. I wanted to make 10 mocks to bring the next year, 2024. And so I did, and I decided to come as an attendee. And that's when I got presented to the world that is being an AFOL. I didn't even know that AFOL was a good thing until last year. And then I set my mind to it. There was a presentation by Sam Saksuri in this room. Now, I've been following Sam. He's one of the master builders or like resident builders at one of the Legoland Discovery Centers. And he was giving a presentation, and there was only about this many people in this room. So my wheels started turning. Downstairs, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on sealed, used Lego sets, all that kind of stuff. 15,000 people are coming through here. They had to be advertised to in some way on the internet. But there was only 40 people in here who actually had a Lego channel started. So my wheels got turning. It's like, if I really double down on this, I could figure out how to pay for all this plastic and maybe even change the lives of myself and my family forever, right? So let's go over a few of these stats. And before we get into the meat, I just need to say a huge thank you to my boy Kingsley in the back. He's been riding with me since the beginning of this. My good friend Brian here, who has been helping us out with the channel recently. And of course, my wife and my future baby AFOL right in her stummy right now. We're having a little baby boy in November. Trust me, I've already got his seal collection. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, stat number 1, we were monetized in under 90 days, which was wild. If you know anything about YouTube, when you start a channel, all the gurus tell you it's going to take you 12 to 18 months to get monetized. We did it in 87 days, right? We've done $750 in Google AdSense revenue, which may not sound like a lot, but in year 1, we have a very clear pathway to scale. We've gotten $1,000 in brand deals, and we consistently hit over 100,000 views on our shorts. And in the last 2 months, we have gotten 2,000 plus subscribers month over month over month. And just so you know I'm not capping, these are my actual analytics from 2 months ago when I had to submit these presentation slides. I'm telling you, if you are interested in getting into Lego as a content creator, it is probably the most fun I have ever had doing anything because there is just so much that you can do with it. But content creation is hard. It is incredibly difficult. And the goal of this presentation is to make it just a little bit easier for you. So we are about to dive in to the 5-step protocol to build a sustainable Lego YouTube channel. And I've got the corniest catchphrase ever, so just bear with me, but enough yapping. Let's break it down. All right, so by the end of this presentation, you're going to have a clear plan for how you're going to start and grow your YouTube channel, an understanding of how and why videos go viral, an understanding of the various monetization options available to you as a content creator, especially in the Lego niche, and a guide to help you accomplish your goals on YouTube. Pretty sweet, right? I'm giving you all the sauce that I've been breaking my back for the last year to learn. Step number 1, all starts with a plan. And these are all mocks that I've built. I figure I might as well promote myself while we're at it. So, step 1A, and there are some typos in here, forgive me. Decide what you like to build and hyper-focus on that. What I want you to do is think about Lego. Lego in and of itself is a niche, right? But within Lego, there are so many different types of things people like to build. Some people like to build modular houses. Some people like to build cars. My wife goes crazy for the botanical sets because we can't kill those plants. And my personal favorites are mechs, bionicles, characters, anything like that. So when I go to YouTube, I'm not looking for the botanical stuff. I'm not looking for cars. I'm looking for, how do I make knees in my sets? How do I give my sets rigid ankles? What are the build techniques that I should be using to make my sets more articulate and posable? The next thing I want you to do is watch 24 hours of content in that niche and take detailed notes. I want you, if you are really serious about this, to sit down before you even put yourself in front of a camera. I want you to think about, who are the content creators that I like to watch? I like watching Mitch Builds, Chubby Bots, Mishima Productions. I could rattle out about 10 or 12 more right off rip. Sit down, watch their content, and I want you to be listening for things like, what do their intros sound like? What words do they use? How long are their videos? How many audio changes or music changes do they have in their stuff? The reason that that's so important is twofold. The first one, it's going to give you a solid template. Especially if you have never made a YouTube video before, it's not easy. But if you have the right template and you know where you're headed, it can be very, very useful. The other thing that it will do is that it will make your content feel familiar to the people who watch that type of content. Think replication, not necessarily emulation. Okay? 1C, choose 5 channels that you like and study their titles and thumbnails. People often have it messed up in their head about what YouTube actually is. People think that YouTube is a video hosting platform. No. YouTube is a click and watch platform. That's why your titles and thumbnails are so important. You can have the best, most well-edited video in the entire world. But if nobody clicks on that thumbnail, they're not going to watch it. They're not going to see it. And all that work you would have put in is going to go down the drain. Oftentimes, when Kingsley and I were first starting, we would spend all this time on the video, and in the last 5 minutes right before the upload, we go to Canva, boom, thumbnail, boom, title, send it. And it should actually be the opposite. You should spend 90% of your time ideating, having the thumbnail image in your head, or going ahead and mocking it up completely before you even hit record on your camera, and then figuring out what is a good title. The idea is that you want to build intrigue for your viewer. You want to give them a taste of what they are going to get from your content. Which brings us to 1D. I want you to come up with 100 video ideas. This is all in the planning phase, remember. You don't have to make all 100 of those ideas. But the reason that I say come up with 100 video ideas is because if you can't come up with 100 ideas, you're in the wrong niche. You might need to rethink your strategy or do a little bit more study. If you cannot come up with 100 video ideas, when YouTube or any other type of content creation platform gets hard, it's going to be really, really difficult to keep going. Now, those ideas might change over time, but it gets you into the mindset of what it takes and where you're going to be headed with your style of content. Sit down and try to come up with 100 ideas. You don't have to do that all in one setting, but I would recommend that you do at least 10 a day for 10 days. Decide on a clear goal and decide on a few quarterly KPIs. For all of you non-nerds out there, well, everybody's in here a nerd, I guess, but decide on what a key performance indicator, that's KPIs, are for you. For me, it was to get paid, right? I'm gonna keep it a buck because Lego is expensive. But I also had such a love for this creative hobby that I wanted to share my ideas, the way that I do things with the world, right? So for you, even if you're trying to get paid, there are so many different ways that you can get paid, right? Are you trying to get paid off of selling instructions like we heard about earlier? Are you trying to get paid off of AdSense, which comes from views? Or are you trying to get paid off of affiliate marketing? All of those things are options, and you got to have a clear goal so that it can help you stay focused when times get hard. Which brings us into step 2. Think about your audience. Prioritize your audience, not the algorithm. Say that to yourself. Prioritize the audience, not the algorithm. What do I mean by that? This is probably the most important slide in the presentation. If you take nothing away from this, I want you to realize that you do not need 1 million followers. You only need 1,000 true fans. Now, this is actually a very business-focused concept that came from an article that was written in 2008 by a man who I have written down on the card over here. If you're interested, we can talk later. But let me explain to you why this is important. If you have 1,000 people who are willing to do business with you in the amount of $100 a year, who has quick math? How much money is that? Y'all are Lego fans. I know y'all are quicker than that. What's 1,000 times 100? Nice, $1 billion, correct. No, it's $100,000, right? You're good, you did great, thank you, man. $100,000. Now, $100,000, I know back when I was a kid, $100,000, I felt like I could have retired on $100,000, right? Now, that might not necessarily be job quitting money, but that is solid revenue for any business, right? Let's keep it a buck. And I know that that is an oversimplified way to talk about this topic, but what I want you to take away from this is that you don't need to go viral with every video. You don't need to get millions and millions of views on every video. You just need to show up consistently for 1,000 people who will love you and your content so much that they might buy $100 worth of instructions from you that year. And $100,000, that's life-changing money for anybody. I don't care who you are. To be focused on understanding your audience's fears and desires. This is another use for that card that I gave you. This is going to become really important in a second. So I want you to think and take a moment, and I want you to write down one thing that you desire about Lego, right? What is one thing that you really want to get from Lego? For an example, my desire from Lego is to share my builds. My desire from Lego is to get really good at building my own custom joints and articulation for my mechs. Some of the fears that I have for Lego: that my builds suck, that they're not going to be good enough to share, that people are going to roast me online because my stuff is rudimentary, right? So I want you to take a second while we're going through this, and I want you to write down what is one fear and one desire. We're going to come back to this in just a second. 2C, virality is based off of sharing, so make content so good that your viewers have to share it with others. Raise your hand if you have an Instagram account. Raise your hand if you have sent a meme to somebody via your Instagram account. Raise your hand if you have sent a picture to someone just because you thought it was cool. Not even necessarily on Instagram. Almost everybody in this room. These algorithms are like webs, right? The sharing function on Instagram and YouTube is the most powerful part of what makes things go viral. And you can reverse engineer your content to help them go viral. It's really easy, quite actually. Just prompt somebody at the end of the video to share. On one of the videos that I've got, that's almost at 1 million views. One of the things that I do is say, share this with somebody who needs to get better at their builds. Another one that's got like 500,000 views, share this with somebody that sucks at Lego. Make it a little provocative, right? But you really want to think about what is your content worth in terms of sharing. The reason that that's important is because once a person shares that video with somebody else, the algorithm is going to show your content to all the people who are similar to the person that shared that who shared that video with, and then the person that they share the video with, and they share the video with. They are building a profile for your channel, and all you have to do is reverse engineer it a little bit to help it go viral. The next one, design your content to be binged. Create related series. Think Netflix. Back in the day when it was actually awesome and they would release a whole series at a time instead of this weekly stuff. For me, I wanted, what really changed, like Rock Raiders was cool, yeah. But what really did it for me was Bionicle. And if anybody in here knows about Bionicle, if you don't, you should, because it saved the company. But Bionicle was that girl back in 2001. Everywhere. Bionicle was on shoes, toothpaste, bedspreads, everything. because it was that lit. And we have not seen a lore-focused theme that deep aside from maybe Ninjago. But Bionicle was super dope. The cool part about Bionicle is it was basically Power Rangers but Lego, right? You had one in every color. You had to buy every single one. They were all essentially the same toy, but the green one was really different from the red one, no matter what my mom or dad said. And I needed all of them. So when I got into Lego, I was like, oh, okay, wait, here's an idea. What if, because Bionicle's over, they don't really make Bionicle pieces anymore. It's dead, boo. But here's my idea. What if I rebuilt Bionicle out of system bricks using modern techniques? And I did 6 videos. 6 videos all about that over the course of the year. And each video did just a little bit better than the previous one. And now there's a whole playlist on my channel where people can go and see all of those videos from start to finish. And you can see how my skills as a video editor and a builder improve. People want to come along for your journey. They don't care if you are making the biggest, most fancy builds. They want to see what are the trials, the tribulations, all that stuff that makes things interesting to watch. I'm going to move a little bit more quickly. Find a proven content format and replicate it. There are so many different formats in Lego. There are revamps, which is my personal favorite. Shopping videos, news and rumors. There are people who do alternate builds, try to build something new out of only the pieces contained in a certain set. There are people who make Lego cities. There are people who talk about Lego lore, all that kind of stuff. Whatever identifies with you, figure out what is this concept that's already working and replicate that. Which brings us to step number 3, storytelling, scripting, and studio I/O. This is where it gets really, really solid. Make small stories feel like big deals. In the Lego hobby, most of us are just sitting in our rooms, tinkering away, trying to figure stuff out. We're not making some of the massive mocks that you see downstairs. Some of us are, but most of us aren't. And when I'm working on something, I want to figure out how to make it perfect for my use case, right? For me, there is no greater feeling, and I know a lot of you have experienced this too, when you are building something and you find that piece in your bin that you had been looking for, or an articulation or a technique works better than you expected. I do this thing at home. I'll just yell, solved. And my wife will be like, what are you talking about, right? Because for me, that's such a big deal, and there is no more satisfying experience than that. Figure out how to translate that into your content, because we've all had that moment. And when I'm talking with my Lego friends online and they show me a cool technique, most of the time I pick up the phone and I tell them, man, that's awesome. How did you do that? How did you come to that idea? Give me everything. I want the whole process. The same is true for my content. Write stories, not essays. Learn storytelling frameworks. When we were kids, our teachers taught us a very simple storytelling framework. Introduction, point 1, point 2, point 3, conclusion, send it. That's boring. Nobody wants to watch that, right? There are frameworks that get very complex, but also incredibly simple, that will help people actually watch your content. I'm going to give you 2. The MAWA framework. MAWA just stands for Make Anyone Watch Anything. I'm going to give you 2 examples. The first using the traditional framework of the essay, the second using MAWA. The first one, let's say I want to bake a cake for my wife's birthday. I want to bake a cake for my wife's birthday. So what I'm going to do is first find a recipe. Then I'm going to go to the store. And finally, I'm going to put that cake in the oven, and then she's going to be happy. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's framework number 1. Now let me expose you to the MAWA framework that goes goal, stakes, conflict, solution. I need to bake a cake for my wife's birthday. That's my goal. The stakes are incredibly high because I have not gotten her a good gift in like 10 years. So if I mess this up, she is going to be pissed. The only problem is she's gluten-free and all I got is regular flour. So I'm going to have to go to the store and find the best gluten-free flour to make a chocolate cake. So that's my solution. Which one would you rather watch? Right? You don't need to answer that. I know the answer. But which one would you rather watch? The cheat code to this is if you repeat it, right? So now we're at the store. My goal is I got to find almond flour. The stakes are if I don't find this almond flour, this cake is going to be trash. But the problem is they don't have almond flour. They're out. So my new plan and solution is I'm gonna get some almonds and I'm gonna grind them up and make my own almond flour. And you repeat that through your video over and over and over again. You're constantly rehooking your viewer. Put 90% of your energy into hooking your viewer. Oh, it's like I organized this well or something. If you have to catch your person's interest within the first 7 seconds. I kind of used this trick on y'all at the beginning. When I exposed you to see yourself in this presentation, in that icebreaker, think about what was your first favorite Lego set. I already built rapport with you. I put you in the driver's seat. What was your favorite Lego set? How did it make you feel? It's almost always going to be happy. So now I got you feeling happy, y'all giggling. This is a great presentation, right? Focus on that 90% of your energy in the first few minutes of your video, first few seconds of your video to hook your viewer. When scripting, lead with the highest value aspect of your building. This is a little bit contrary to what you would normally think. The reason I say that is because you want to keep, once you've got the viewer that is clicked on your video thumbnail, you've hooked them with a really good hook at the beginning. And now you're starting to present to them what is the actual value. Most of us would intuitively think, oh, I'm going to save my best stuff for the end, right? They're going to have to watch to get this. Don't do that. Do not do that. Put your best stuff up front, and let me tell you why. First, immediate payoff is how you win on social media. If somebody sees something novel and truly innovative for the first time early in your video, you could show them 4 other points that are kind of mid, and they're going to stick around because they're also going to think that something else novel will come. Do not put your best stuff last. Nobody's going to see it. Build all of your mocks in Studio I/O. This is super important for a couple of reasons. First, selling your instructions is a big part of your monetization strategy. For me, I didn't even realize that until 2 months ago. People have been begging me. They are literally finding me on Instagram, on different platforms saying like, bro, I saw this on YouTube. Can you please send me the instructions? Can you please upload them to Rebrickable? I had not considered that. The other piece that's really important about that is that it will give you an opportunity, it'll give you an opportunity to better script so you can see, okay, then I did this piece, that piece, this piece, that piece, right? And then your followers and viewers can follow along with you, which increases engagement. All right, now we're rounding the bend. We're about to land the plane a little bit. Now we can start thinking about recording. Avoid gas at all costs. Let me explain to you what gas means. Gear acquisition syndrome. You do not need an FX3, which is a really fancy camera, or some Netflix quality camera to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on YouTube. There are people that I know and work with on a regular basis that are making millions of dollars off of an iPhone. Focus on your story. No one really cares. Smartphones have gotten so good that most people can't even tell the difference. Audio is more important than video, full stop. If you are watching a video, there's actually been tons of studies done on this. If the video has really bad video, but good audio, people are more likely to watch it if the video is really good, but the audio sucks. So what do? If you're going to invest in any type of piece of equipment, the first thing that I would buy, because most of you have a smartphone in your pocket, the first thing I would buy is a good microphone. The reason is because audio science hasn't gotten that better. The industry standard is the SM7B. That microphone has been around since the 70s. It's the KUOW microphone. The other thing that I would invest in is lighting, which is why good lighting will make a cheap camera look amazing. Can y'all attest to that? Y'all know cameras in the back. Am I lying? Probably not. Nope. See, they're shaking their head. Invest in good lighting. This also gives you the opportunity to record anywhere so that you're not dependent on natural daylight. Bulk record, bulk record, bulk record. Look, setting up and recording, especially Lego builds and stuff like that, it is exhausting. Y'all see I'm sweating up here just talking about it. If you can sit down and record as many episodes of your content as possible in one go, that would be ideal, because then you only have to set it up 1 or 2 times as opposed to having to set it up and break it down each and every time. Okay, this is a super hot sauce. That's why I put it in red. Blend Lego with popular interests and huge fandoms to go viral every single time. The only thing that I love more than my wife and Lego is Pokemon. I'm just kidding, baby. So when I first started, there was a set that came out. It's called Kai's Ninja Climber Mech. And I was like, that looks a lot like a Garchomp. I think I could turn that into a Garchomp. And right now, even on my channel, I've got 2 Pokemon mech builds. I think those videos aren't very good, and they're the best performing on my channel, hands down. That video that I told you that is almost at 1 million views, that's about Garchomp. The 2 long forms that I got on there, they're like 50,000 views a piece. Kingsley and I were stressing about those builds because we didn't know how to edit at that point. We were still trying to learn how to do it. And these just popped because people love Pokemon. You can do the same thing with Star Wars. You can do the same thing with almost anything that has a massive fandom. Because the novelty is transformation. How do you mix one thing with another to make it feel novel and new to your viewer? Create opportunities for your audience to interact with you, not just your content. I reply to every single one of my comments, and I did for like the first 6 months. I've been on vacation for the last month, so don't fact check me. There's some sitting there. But for the first 6 months, if you commented on my video, you got to reply. I can't tell you how many times people said, I have never had somebody like a YouTuber reply to me. B, those people come back and they watch every single time. A lot of times I'll even include their comments in my videos, and it just blows their minds. Because human interaction is a premium that used to be appreciated that has just eroded recently. Going viral too soon can actually hurt your channel long term. Slow and steady pays the bills. If you go viral trying to ride a trend and you don't actually care about that thing, people are going to have the expectation that you're going to do that every time. And then when you actually do upload something that you are excited about, nobody's going to watch. And then YouTube is going to deprioritize your content. So do not worry about going viral. It will come. And that's also not your focus. Brand deals are awesome, but wildly overrated. I debated with my wife about this slide and how I would actually pitch it, because brand deals are great. They do pay the bills. But unless they are 100% aligned to the type of content that you are making, I just uploaded a video that I got paid a handsome sum of money for, but it's one of the worst performing videos on my channel because it's basically a modular and I build mechs. My audience doesn't care about modulars, right? No matter how much I tried to incorporate it into what I did, video did terrible. I got paid, but it didn't really resonate with my audience, so I've learned that I'm gonna just stay in my lane. This is the last one. Build a community with other creators and grow together. That is the reason, another reason, why I gave you a note card. Please, if you have a social media that you are willing to share, write it on that card and bring it back up to me, because I will follow, I will comment, especially if you are in the Lego niche. The only way to go far is to go together. And to that end, this is where you can find us. You can hit me at bkhbricks@gmail.com. You can do www.bkhbricks.com, or you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. I would really love that. And I think we have a little bit of time left for questions and all that kind of good stuff. Thank you so much for your time, y'all. I really appreciate it. We have about 15 minutes. Lit. We got 15 minutes for questions. Can I help anybody out? Oh, we got mics up here. How's it going, man?
Good. Just curious. So, how often do you post, and what's the average length of a video?
Great question. Yeah. I suck at that consistency. So, what people will say to you is that you need to post once a week. You don't need to do that. To get 15,000 subscribers and get monetized and whatnot, I think I maybe had 6 videos up at the time. I have 22 videos right now on my channel. Half of those are short. So, the thing about hobby niches, so Gunpla, art stuff, anything that you might be into, depending on your niche, your audience doesn't necessarily care how often you upload, as long as when you upload is fire, right? Kingsley and I put a ton of work into our videos. If you go check us out, you'll see. And we always try to improve our videos by 1% with every new upload. So our viewers have a higher tolerance for not seeing me as much because they know whatever they're going to get next is usually going to be fire. Great question. Great question. Yes, that's actually a really good question. So for YouTube, the golden rule is 8 to 13 minutes in our particular niche. 8 minutes is important because anything under 8 minutes, you're only going to get one ad roll at the beginning. If it's over 8 minutes, you're going to get an ad roll at the beginning and an ad roll in the middle. YouTube likes that because the more ads they can show, the more revenue they can create. The longer, but that doesn't necessarily mean you want to go too long. So the sweet spot for what type of content we will create around Lego is anywhere from 8 to 13 minutes. You'll see some that are longer, but most of the time 8 to 13 minutes. Great question. Yes? Woo! Kingsley, how much do you think? We work together at least, 16 hours a week? 12 to 16 hours a week. But that's just because I am a perfectionist when it comes to this type of thing, right? Depending on your build, like especially if you're just doing short form, you could get away with a lot less, a lot less. I just can't decide between whether I like long form and short form more. So I do both, and it takes a little bit longer time to process. But I would say probably dedicate at least 5 to 10 hours a week. Right.
Which do you find more valuable, short form or long form?
It depends on what your goals are. If you want to grow really fast, there is no better way than shorts. If you want to build a strong relationship with your audience, shorts is not going to do that. That's why I do both. Shorts, I think the most I've ever got, I think I've gotten like 1,500 subscribers off of one short alone. The one that's going viral. And then I uploaded it to TikTok and got 1,700 followers on TikTok and then got another 1,700 on Instagram from one short. If you're trying to actually build relationships with your audience, long form is the only successful way to do that because that's when people really sit down and lock in with you. Great question. Great question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have a hard one and an easy one. Which one do you like?
Let's go with the hard one first.
Okay, for a hard one.
Step
okay,
on the Lego.
I tried to do stuff on the platforms that I like myself, right?
Yeah.
So I like YouTube myself, so I went for that. But I also like Facebook groups because we got groups where it's like there's about 50,000 people looking at mocks and they just come in like one every 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But when I went to go put my mock on there, you can't put your mock on there unless you do it as your personal account, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't make like a business account and put it on or anything. Protect your privacy.
Yeah.
So that's my question. How much do you value your privacy? Is it really worth kind of hiding yourself, or is it better to kind of sell your personality yourself as a brand? What do you
That is such a good question, right? So first off, I'm a school board director in Seattle, so my privacy was out the window a long time ago. But I get that feeling, right? And with Lego channels, they very rarely even show their face, right? A lot of them are just top-down hands type of builds. So it really depends on you, right? I grew up doing debate. I grew up talking to people, and I really just don't think that there is a better way to communicate with people than showing my face. Plus, I'm not ugly, so, there's that, right? But what I would say is whatever your comfort level is what I would suggest. And I am platform agnostic. I'm going to go where my audience is. So if you really vibe with Facebook, stay on Facebook. Keep doing that thing. It just depends on what your goals are. But if you're trying to get paid, YouTube is the only platform that matters. The reason is people will tell you YouTube is the only S-tier social media platform for a couple of reasons. First, they have the longest track record. They have a really great split. TikTok is here today and gone tomorrow, so it's just hard to say. Instagram doesn't pay you for posts, right? It's just exposure. So if you're really trying to make money to make it sustainable, YouTube is the way to go. But if you're just trying to grow your audience, you got to play everywhere, right? But my focus has been specifically for YouTube. Great question. The other thing that I would say along that question, is that when I first started, I was thinking about okay, I really want to build this thing. I want to build a space mech that is a spider and has guns on it. I thought that would be really cool. Nobody cared about what I thought was cool, right? But when I started thinking about okay, that's why I love revamps so much, is because you've already got a proven concept. People loved Bionicle. So I knew that at the bare minimum, if I rebuilt this in a style, and y'all, if you know Bionicle fans, they are super particular about their stuff. They were either going to love it or hate it, and I didn't care which one because if you comment, it's a comment. YouTube doesn't care whether they were telling you it's a comment saying your builds are trash. All right, Kevin. Everybody knows a Kevin. Or they're saying this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen. And I read all of my comments. The vast majority of it is just positive and so lit and gracious and kind. And that's why I love Lego. The community is so nice. Oh my gosh. You can imagine why I like this a lot better than government sometimes, right? Great question. Can I help anybody else? All right, so come on. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so you were talking about platform agnostic and just, like casting a wide net, let's say.
Yeah.
You don't tailor, you don't do a different video for Instagram versus for TikTok versus for YouTube, right? You find a way to merge all of those.
Exactly. And that's because I'm still so yes, I prioritize YouTube. In any short or anything like that I post to YouTube, I just send it out to Instagram. I don't even upload to Instagram and TikTok that much. My wife loves Instagram and TikTok, so I let her do it. But in year 2, I am learning that the type of content that performs really well on Instagram is very different than what content performs well on YouTube versus TikTok. And you'll start to see that when you spend time on all the platforms. And I would say it's easier to make content for Instagram, but the payoff is a lot lower. So that's why I'm focusing on YouTube, because that's where I want to build my main audience. But as we go into year 2 and we start doing some more experimental stuff, we're going to start playing around with some other formats and like other things like that. But you want to be careful with that, because say somebody finds your content on Instagram and it's wildly different than what you're putting on YouTube, they're going to say, oh, wait, am I even looking at the same person? Like, it doesn't match, right? So some people don't like that. But I would say, yeah, for right now, for me, YouTube is the focus, and then I just upload to everywhere else after the fact. Great question. Okay, very good. Another thing is keep Lego out of your name. That's why you see so many people that use bricks, because trademark, copyright, all that kind of stuff. So that's one tip. But like I said, please, if you do not mind, write your name down. I would love to stay connected with you. And if you want to ever get any type of consultation on this, I would love to do a call with you. One of my superpowers personally, I think, is education and helping people do things that they thought that they couldn't do. There's no greater feeling that I get, especially when a second grader learns how to subtract over 0, if you know what I mean. A lot of you parents out there I know are cringing right now thinking about that homework. So if you are really interested in this is all that I could jam into this presentation. But there is just so much more that we could go deeper on. And please, I insist, write down my email, take my information. I would be more than happy to help you out. And again, my name is Brandon Hersey, like the candy bar without the second H. You can find us at BKH Bricks. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good rest of your convention. Thank you.